So we're calling this meeting of the Charter Revision Commission to order, and I guess we start with the pledge, correct?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Okay, and now we turn to the public.
Well, thank you so
You're
much
quite
for
welcome.
the opportunity to speak to you. I appreciate it. It is now up to this commission.
Ma'am, could you do me a favor,
Joan
just for the
Coe.
record, please? Thank you.
26 Whitcomb Drive.
Thank you.
It is now up to this commission to finally adopt a charter that reflects a professional town manager. My campaign for first selectman reflects the need for a town manager. Mary Glassman has stated at the last charter revision that Simsbury is evolving into having a town manager, although when running for first selectman was an advocate for a town manager. Anita Millard signed a minority report from a previous charter revision commission for a town manager. Granby, Avon, Farmington, Bloomfield, and West Hartford all have town managers. Towns with a population over 23,000 have a town manager. It is now time to finally vote for professional management in keeping with the surrounding towns. Professional management leads to continuity in leadership. Simsbury's present charter is so bifurcated as written that nobody has the ultimate responsibility to make decisions. As a result of this, we are presently governing by committee with no results. We are lacking leadership. I would suggest that this commission review the need for placing many boards and commissions into the charter and remove most of them from the charter. Many committees and boards should be initiated as needed and dissolved when necessary. There is an excellent YouTube documentary that I have shared with many of you called Council Manager Form of Local Government. This documentary guides you through the progression of a first selectman form of government to a town manager. I would urge all members of this commission to review it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. No other members of the public? So one thing I will, when Bob shows up, the attorney, I am going to ask him a couple of questions on whether we can shift around when the public speaks, particularly if we have 2 or 3 items coming up on the same agenda. So we'll talk about that a little bit, but I want to get Bob's legal opinion first. We need to have a vice chair. There will be a time, I'm sure, when I know in January I'm doing this meeting because I'll be out of town. So we need to have somebody selected who's going to then run the meeting. So I'm going to throw it open to the board. Any nominations?
I would nominate Paul.
I think the chairman recognized me first. We're going to do Robert's
Because
rules.
my subtle
I'm
nod.
assuming I was
Subtle nod of the head.
okay, I want to
I
get
thought
that
you were the
clear.
only one up. You got it.
Okay,
Council is parking.
I thank you, Ed, but I think I'd like to nominate Tom to be vice chair. I think, given his longevity in town, he's also an attorney. We also have, unaffiliated as chair, Democrat as secretary. But I think it'd be a good balance if we had Tom as the vice chair. So I'd like to nominate Tom to be vice chair.
Do we have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Seconded. Any other nominations? It's going to be an easy one. All those in favor? Signify by raising your hands.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I guess.
That's exactly was my, my reaction when I got it.
Thank you anyway.
Okay. Now, next item, we have discussion, possible action on applicability of Robert's rules. My suggestion is we follow it as a guideline. We're not going to be to the letter of the law. We're a fairly small body, so we can be a little flexible with it, but I definitely think we need some framework to work around, and I'm suggesting that we use Robert's rules. Does anybody have any comments on that?
That's pretty much what a lot of the other commissions have been doing. I mean, once in a while they get hung up on a specific, but it's generally followed fairly well.
Right. I think that most of us have been on committees and, either on the chair or had to run public meetings. And I think it's a very good guide to use. I think a couple of us actually brought our Robert's Rules of Orders.
Any other comments at all?
I wouldn't want to go strict to us. Our town takes it almost parliamentary procedure. You can write and interpret.
Yeah, we're going to be fairly flexible about that. Any other comments? Getting unanimous consent on that? Okay.
Yes.
What else do we have? Okay, actually, before we get, no, we'll do it in order, make life easier. What I am thinking of is, as we set up the agenda, I think we need to prioritize what we want up front. And what I would suggest we do is some of the, I guess, less contentious, for lack of a better word, items. Let's deal with those first, kind of get through them and work our way as a committee to start functioning. So I have made a little list, and I don't know all the background in the town, so I don't know if somebody's come up before, because I'm still relatively new here. But I think some of the ones that would be a little less contentious, you have the gender neutral suggestion, you have content of public notices for the budget, you have budget prep and referendum, and the open space committee. I think all those should not be 2 or 3 meetings to resolve them, so I would like to use those up front, possibly put 2 of them on for the same meeting, and we may get through it. If we don't, we can always move one back further.
How do you see if there are real concerns about some of these? Because we could almost do like a consent agenda. I mean, gender neutrality.
The only question I had, I just, looking at timing, is there any reason why the timing of the budget items should be decided first, or is there no impact? No, I guess Paul probably knows the
No,
answer.
there couldn't be until we pass.
Because we have to go through the whole process.
So we have to do everything.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be
For this year,
it wouldn't be the following year anyway. So does anybody have any objection to following that type of procedure as opposed to going A, B, C, and D as listed on what we were handed?
I would just caution the group not to make any substantive decisions on any of those until after the public hearing.
Oh, no, we're not going to, I'm just trying to structure
Yeah,
how a
right,
meeting's
that's a
going to go
good
in the
point.
future.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
no, we're not going to discuss the issues now. We're not going to get into that.
We may have a totally set issue.
I just want to figure out a structure so we can set up the meetings for the future. And as a couple of us are aware, if it's a special meeting, which the next meeting would be actually, which is the public meeting, that's a special meeting, we can't change any agenda items at that time anyway. We'll be more flexible as we establish meetings in the future, then we can add items or pull items back as we see fit. Please.
Just 2 points. One would be regarding setting the agenda. Since we are a small group, maybe between the 3 of you, you could work on what the agenda is, so in case somebody's got an idea, put it on the agenda, especially where there's special meetings. That would be one. The second thing, as we go through these items and we agree on something, I would think that at the end, we would want to have the ability to look at it as a whole versus saying, well, we agreed on this in January 15th, so therefore we've got to do it. You know, when we get to May 15th, we still should be able to look at the thing as a whole and say, yeah, this makes sense. That would just be my suggestion.
Well, listen. Please.
What I've done in the past is I've created a 2015 draft charter, and as the group makes decisions on changes to it, I've put it in the draft charter, and then that draft, send it out to everybody, and then as you go along, it's not final until you, like Paul said, you get a look at the whole, and then you can say, well, that, your vote is put that in the draft charter. It's not, you know, put it in the charter, it's put it in the draft
In the
charter.
draft, right.
As part of the running draft that you'll be working draft that you'll be working off. Always gives you an opportunity to go back and say, you know, how do I look at it? Because of other things we've done, it doesn't make sense or whatever. So you're nothing's final until it's final.
Yeah, well, some things will obviously be contingent on what comes before. Once you decide if you want to recommend a town manager or keep it as it is, then that's going to obviously impact the duties of the select person.
That's correct.
Okay. The question I also had, you've gone through this process before, obviously. Does the committee typically write a report on each item?
No,
which they
it's a-
submit, or?
It's a report on the proposed draft charter. And then
Okay, as a
it's-
whole.
As a whole, and then there's a section on each proposed change, and a
Mhm.
section on changes that were considered but not approved and why. So you'd say, you know, then there's a recitation of how often you met, a short synopsis of
Mhm.
your workings, the public hearing.
Right.
And then we hereby propose the following changes to the
Mhm.
charter, and here are the changes we considered but are not proposing changes, and reasons for that. And then attached to that is the recommended draft charter.
Okay, then I guess the follow-up on that is, whatever issue we might be voting on, let's say we've got a 7-4 vote. Should we be submitting a minority report if the minority wants to? Would they want to submit a report also to the selectmen?
That has been done in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I almost think you need
But wait, can I just
reports of
follow on
both.
your question?
Yeah, 1 second. I almost think we need both to be, you know, both versions when we finally go to the selectmen to give them reports on each of the items, both, you know, that we supported, and if the minority wants to write a report, a minority report.
Yeah, so it's 3 elements. It's well, 4 elements. Recitation of your proceedings,
Mhm.
is how we got there.
Right.
Proposes, recommended changes to the charter that you are recommending.
Mhm.
Changes, charter, proposed changes to the charter you're not recommending, and reasons why, and minority report if
Okay, great, thank you.
all part of it.
Okay, Jeff, you got something, please?
No, I was thinking, I think, maybe I just didn't hear you right. Were you suggesting writing a minority report on each individual
No.
item?
Only
On the whole.
only if the minority chooses to do that on a particular item.
On
They
an
feel
item,
strongly
okay.
enough about it, I
Okay,
want their
that's fine.
opinion reflected in the
Okay.
report.
You could have 5 different minority reports and 5 different items, because it's like a, you know, concurring and dissenting opinion on
Right.
this.
So what we will end up doing is setting up an agenda. What I'd like to do, if nobody objects to this, we have the public meetings, I guess, October 1st, I believe it is. In the past, how many members of the public typically show up?
The first one, you won't fill the room. The second public hearing, depends on what you recommend.
You know, I'm
You may
worried
fill
about,
the
I'm
room.
worried about the first one.
First one, this room's plenty big.
No, but I'm saying typically how many people will show up to speak? Because if
Joan,
it's-
you'll be here.
I'll
Yeah,
be
but if it's only, here's what
I'll
the
be
reason
here,
I'm
yeah.
asking, if it's only 2 or 3 people, okay, do we have enough time to add one item of substance to that agenda
Yes,
after the
you
public?
do.
That's what I want to know, because we might be able to put 1 or 2 of those things on here now,
Yeah.
okay, because we've got the time to do it.
Yeah, you've got the public hearing, and then you would notice a special meeting to begin immediately after the
Right,
public
which is,
hearing.
which is what I'm thinking, yeah, that'd be fine, so we can do that.
But also, should we consider any publication other than the standard notices that most people don't read anyway? To just let the public know we're going to have a hearing? Because so many people will say, I don't know, after the fact. They've done that in zoning time and time again.
Don't you typically publish in the local paper?
Well, we do, there's a legal
But there
notice,
should be
but
like a
there's
news
no,
item.
if we could do a news item on it, yeah.
Okay.
Up here, don't we have a full-time person or a part-time person who writes the stuff?
Tom's great.
Could you get a,
We can certainly,
Well,
in the
it's
local,
Stephanie.
in the local
we
newspaper?
can certainly get someone to do a notice.
Yeah, that'd be good.
More
That's a
important
good
than just
idea.
posting on Simsbury Moms for Dying. That's where the real action.
Somebody could do that. But I will take care of sending something out, sounds like probably early next week.
As soon as you can get it out.
Right.
Okay, so what I will do is I will probably speak with Tom and add 1 or 2 items for a special meeting. We'll send that out and post it, and then we'll, in addition, I'm going to send out my proposed order of the various issues, which we can discuss at that following meeting and see if you people are all agreed to that, so at least we know which way we're going.
May I ask a point of order, Robert's rules? By my little cheat notes on
Okay.
Robert's rule today, it says the secretary is to send out the agenda. So you set the agenda, send it to me, and I send it out? Is that how we're supposed to go about doing it, or are we not going to be that particular?
No, I think Tom could actually send it out.
Okay.
If you're okay with
I
that.
absolutely.
It's just-
Yes.
More moving parts tend to.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's also different with committees and governments and you know, we're going to be flexible on that.
Just as a question, when we have the agenda items, I guess we're looking for potential source material for other ideas. Is that going to be to us prior to?
It should be, so you can look at it, certainly.
I'll work closely with Hadley on making sure that where that makes sense.
Mhm.
For example, when it comes time to talk about something as mundane as the timeline for budget preparation, we'll make sure that our finance director has a description of how it currently works and where the recommended changes are, something like that. I've got a list of towns here when we get a little farther downstream, and you guys are getting ready to talk about how other towns run things in different areas. We can provide you with all those chart materials.
Yeah, we'll certainly do that.
Can I?
Sure.
May I comment? I just want to comment on what Tom just said. I've been reading a book on Thomas Jefferson, which I think is very, very interesting. It's one of these, it's like this, that, you know, guy won a Pulitzer Prize for it. But I think there's an important point that we've got to all keep in mind here as we move forward. And it's that, you know, we're all going to want to do the right thing for Simsbury, right? We all are. We've all been in positions of input somehow. And one of the things he said in his first inaugural address was that, and he was referring to the Federalists and to the Republicans at the time, they were having big arguments, he said, every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle, which I read like last night or the night before, and I thought that was very telling for what we're trying to do here. So I think we want to keep that in mind, that the principle here is, you know, Simsbury is a great place to live. We want to keep it that way and keep that going for the future. And, you know, currently Simsbury has a great school system. We got AAA rating for our bonds. It's a great place to live. We've got professional staff such as Tom and Sean who are here. And because of these, Simsbury's number 9 on the Money Magazine list.
And other things too.
And other things too. So there's issues that we're going to face, you know, taxes, declining enrollment, what makes sense. Mrs. Coe made some great points, and I have watched your video, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay. But I think as we move forward, there's a couple of things we need to keep in mind. And that's, you know, first, what is it that needs to be revised in the charter and why? Okay. And if we do make changes in those areas that are identified, will it address the issue as to why? Okay. And it gets to your point, Tom, about other towns, is if we do make those changes, how do we compare to those towns, both from a quantitative and a qualitative standpoint, and does it make sense? So as we move forward, I'm going to keep those 3 points in my mind as we move forward. And I know we're going to have disagreements on some of this stuff, but it's just, you know, we're all trying to do the right thing and keep Simsbury a great place. So, you know, but I'm glad you brought that up, because it was just like, okay, I gotta talk about that right now, because I think it is very important. You always hit the key points, Tom.
Well, it depends who you ask, but that's kind of what you said.
All right, thanks.
Okay, meeting schedule. I'm thinking that we probably need 2 meetings a month. If we end up going through things a little bit quicker, then we can always cut meetings out. I would actually like to try and find a day that works for most of us most of the time. And whether we do every other Monday, every other Tuesday, every other, you know, Thursday, I don't know what conflicts with what other meetings, whether it be a Board of Ed meeting or a Board of Finance meeting. I don't know what days are locked in other various committees.
Well, Board of Ed, do you want it now, or do you want us to email you?
Yeah, no, you can.
Well, Board of Ed standing meetings, we have 2 meetings a month, and they're always the second and the 4th Tuesday.
So, okay,
That-
so
yeah, so that
then
is
that's
definitely
probably not a
blocked
great
out.
night for you, unless we did the 1st and the 3rd.
I think we
Okay.
should stay with the same night of the week. And it's, the night, Mondays are zoning commission and board of selectmen.
Mhm,
right?
okay.
And once a month, the energy.
Clean energy,
Okay.
and you're on that. Which Monday?
First. Normally, except when there's a holiday.
And zoning is 1st and 3rd?
First and
And board of selectmen is
Is that-
2nd, 4th.
Is that a Monday also?
All
Okay,
Mondays,
so
Yes.
yeah.
how about Thursdays? larger bodies, more, higher up bodies, for
No,
lack of
I
a better
think.
word.
I'm aware of, no.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, does anybody have a consistent problem with Thursdays, or just one or two?
After
little meetings?
after the middle of October, I'm good.
Okay, so then we could kind of work around that, okay? Because not everybody's going to make every meeting, I'm sure, as much as we intend to. Things can happen. So my suggestion is going to be that, let's see, the next meeting is what, October 1st?
Monday.
Right.
Which is Thursday.
Okay, so
The
why
first
don't
or
we
the second?
go?
Look at that. You said-
Is it the first or the second?
It's the first.
The first, okay.
First. So why don't we set up a schedule for every other Thursday?
I would think you'd want to, that might be good for October and November. December might be a little bit. iffy.
Well, you'll have a problem with
And
Thanksgiving.
then,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll adjust for Thanksgiving and also December,
I
Christmas
think once you
Eve
get
is
to
a Thursday.
January, February, then you're going to really want to start cranking.
Yeah,
Point of information.
typically no, but okay.
All right, no, it's important. October 1st is when the Board of Selectmen is having a public hearing.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's going to conflict. I'll give you this paper.
Isn't that our fault?
I know.
That's-
That's
I think
us.
that's ours.
That's ours.
No, that's the Board of Selectmen.
We're kind of representing
Okay.
the boards.
Is that the same?
This is, charter revision, okay?
Okay.
Yep.
That's, so you already have that in the.
So we already noticed that.
Okay, good, thank you.
The Historic District Commission sometimes meets the first Thursday of the month. They don't meet every month.
Okay, I can't be concerned with that, frankly.
No, I know, but I'm talking about the room.
Oh, okay.
As far as the main meeting room is
Mhm.
concerned, did we want to have meetings there? Because I think it's easier for ICTV
Mhm.
than if we meet here.
We know that to be true.
I'm open frankly to any location, I really don't care. Is there any advantage, other than, is this easier for you? Does it impact any of us negatively? Can we get this room all the time?
I don't know the answer to
Okay,
that.
so that's
a
fine.
real- That's a challenge.
Okay.
So we may have to go back and forth between this
Okay.
room and the main meeting room.
Which we can do.
Well, HDC can always go to another room in the building, and there's usually,
Right.
4 or 5 commissioners and 1 or 2 applicants.
I think probably we'll be able, particularly with the later meetings, as far as this space is concerned, we'll be all right.
You'll check into that.
I'll check into
Let us
that.
know, but we're going to shoot for making it every other Thursday at the.
Starting the first and the third Thursdays, right?
And keeping it mostly at 5:30, because.
That's the next question. Does 5:30, well, it's a two-part question. A, does 5:30 work for most of us? And B, does 5:30 work for the public?
I thought we talked about
Public
public.
meetings at 7.
Yeah, I thought, yeah,
No,
public meetings you wanted.
No, that's, I just wanted to make sure about that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm okay with 5:30.
Yeah.
5:30.
I was
It's a
right.
push, but I-
For us, I mean, I would love 5:30, but does that impact, as we get into our regular meeting schedule, does that negatively impact the public? Because if it does, then we've got to start at 7. I mean, you guys have a better feel for that in this town than I do, frankly.
I think
I think 5:30 is fine for regular meetings. This
Okay.
is,
if you, yeah,
Sure.
if you want to, you could always move public hearing towards later in the meeting, or have two, one at the beginning, one at the
Mhm.
end. That way, if somebody feels they can't make 5:30, they
Mhm.
could speak at 6:30.
Well, I have a couple of questions about the public comment once we establish this, but 5:30 would work for all of us in general?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to shoot for 5:30, and we'll talk about that, we'll try and schedule that. Bob, I had a
Are you
question.
going to put in specific dates?
Yeah, we're gonna come, we'll work it up and we'll send it out. Okay, I have a question for you on the public comment. Everybody here, one way or another, has been involved in boards, commissions, et cetera, in various towns. And one of the things that I implemented in Westport, which was a little different, we also used to have public comment would start at the beginning of the meeting. We might have situations where we've got 2 or 3 items on the agenda. We also have, almost every one of these things you're going to have to address first to give us some guidelines, legal guidelines on it. What I'm wondering is, can we have the public speak after you make your presentation? Because as a lot of us know, sometimes the public is not aware of all the ramifications of a particular issue. And they'll get up and speak to a point which really isn't relevant. So possibly if you get up and do your presentation first, and then we go to the public, and then go to the body, does that work, or is there,
You can put
restriction?
public comment anywhere you want on the agenda. It's not even required to
Okay,
have
well,
it.
okay, well, that's what I wanted to find out, because I think unless anybody has an objection to that, I think it's a better way to go, frankly, for us in public. get them more informed before they get up and speak. The other thing I'm wondering, if we have, let's say, 2 items on the agenda, can we limit the public to speaking about that particular item at that time, and then if they want to address item 2 when item 2 comes up? Is that viable as well?
Well, if you put public comment on the agenda prior to your issues, in terms of the order of the agenda, if you say public comment, agenda items addressing this issue, I suppose in the public comment session, you could advise the speakers to speak individually to each issue.
To the merits of the question.
Yeah.
I would object to that. I would strongly object to that. You can't tell the public what they can say. They can come here and talk about anything they want.
You can recommend.
No, I wouldn't even go there. I really wouldn't
Yes.
even go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I would say yes, you can recommend, you can suggest, and we used to do this at public hearings where we'd have, the budget and the operating, and we'd break it up into 2, capital and operating, would say, ask the public to please, make your comments to the merits of the question. But they get up and say whatever the heck they want,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
so why
what I'm
bother to
thinking.
rile them up by suggesting what they should say,
Right.
really?
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion, keep them on task.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see,
You
we'll
can
see
ask.
how it's,
Right,
yeah.
we'll see how they react once we do it. If
Absolutely right.
they throw
Yeah,
tomatoes,
Thomas
if they throw
Jefferson said
tomatoes
about
at me,
that.
I won't do it the next time.
He would say, give them the opportunity to speak.
That's right.
Right.
No, they can have the opportunity, but I would
Yeah.
just suggest that, we're going to be discussing this topic later, if you would hold your comments on that till then. If they want to, great. If they don't want to, they don't have to. I wouldn't say you can't do it. So that would kind of be the way that I would lean. Okay, we did talk about minority reports. That's really pretty much it for today. That's pretty much it.
Good.
Anybody have anything else that they feel?
I will not be at the public hearing. I have to
Okay.
be away. So
Okay.
I will not be here next week.
Let the secretary know.
Do you foresee looking at some of the larger topics, maybe to have task groups to work those, and then bring them back before the...
I've been thinking about that if we want, subcommittees on things like that. We're a fairly small body, and we should all be getting all the information at the same time. I don't know that we need to set up subcommittees. I really don't. Unless somebody really wants to, be my guest,
Just a sort of a related question.
Sure.
Do you want, obviously we'll get issues coming out of the public hearing, but we could go around this table and we probably want to have 1 or 2 items on that list. Would you want us to send them to you or Tom, or just wait, or how do you want to work that?
I would, okay, when you say items on the list, such as?
With your prioritizing.
Without,
Well, just,
on the prioritizing?
no, just
no.
whatever, somebody may be passionate about town manager.
Mhm.
Let's make, obviously town manager's gonna be on the list.
Okay,
That's probably a bad example,
I
but
think,
just just ideas, issues
Okay.
that this group should
I
consider.
think this goes back to, and Tom and Bob, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this goes back to what we discussed at the last time. I think if you send out information to the whole body, that's fine, just don't generate a conversation out of it through email. In other words, you have information, if you have facts, figures, whatever you want to send out that you think would be informative to the body, I think that's fine.
No, I'm not
But-
getting down that, I'm just talking, Tom, I'd like to have these 5 things on the list. That's really all I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think just send it to the group and.
Can't we just bring it up at a meeting too?
When you say, let me just make sure I'm on the
The
same
issues, whether it's combining boards and commissions, whether it's how the deputy first selectman is selected, whether it's town manager, whatever the issue, whatever's of interest.
Mm-hmm.
The list of topics that
With-
we're
with-
going
list
to
of topics, yeah, just a
Items
list
on
of
the agenda.
topics.
Those are topics you like to put on the agenda.
If we want to have.
Don't
more
quote me on
visible-
the, yeah,
Right, right,
just theoretically,
right.
just
As an
as somebody,
example,
you're
you're saying as an
somebody
example.
keeping a list, or want a list, or are we waiting until after
Well,
public hearing? That's all I'm really
Okay, if you
asking.
want something added to the list that we already have, is that what you're suggesting? In other words, we have a list of 12 items. Okay, I think it's 12
Yeah.
items. You're talking about,
Yeah, if
this
there's
is
anything
really
in
a
addition.
strong item to me, or I'd like you to also consider
Yes.
adding this to.
Yeah.
If you want something added, we have the right to add. Send the list out.
Absolutely.
Send the list out.
This commission can raise issues of its own volition.
Yeah.
By point of clarification,
Issues of non-twelve items.
Okay.
By point of clarification, we only have a preliminary list of items that came up as a result of surveying the town employees, correct?
But we have, some of those are included. There's a second survey that is not yet completed that will be provided to you before your first substantive meeting.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Right.
So we can start factoring those
We
in.
can
This is
consider the whole
director's-
ball of wax
Yeah.
and
that's for-
anything we want.
We have the right to suggest anything we want as far as that.
Exactly right.
Yeah, okay. We're not limited to that, so yes, if you have extra issues you'd like to get into the mix, send out an email. Let me see if I can finish something.
Did everyone's town email work?
Mine worked.
Oh, one of the things, legal issues. At any of the meetings we have, if you have any questions of Bob, obviously he's going to answer them to the best of his ability at that time with follow-up. If, as I know I do, and I'm sure many of you do, in between meetings, you say, oh, I really want to ask Bob that. Don't ask Bob that. Ask me that. And the reason I'm saying is because we all probably have a lot of similar things going on. I don't want Bob getting 3 different emails about essentially the same topic and having him have to reply to 3 people. So if you give it to me, I can, not that I'm going to say, oh, I'm not giving this then, but if I can say, this question's been asked already, and it will be answered by Bob at the next meeting, that will save Bob some time. Okay, so I appreciate any legal questions in the interim, go to me. Okay. Any other questions or comments or suggestions? Anyone want to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
There we go. We're done. Thank you, people.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.